Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Equity and Energy. We have today Ms. Keion Hennessey, Program Director from Fund 17. Keion, how you doing?
I am amazing today. How are you?
I am good. we want to just kind of get you on, give us a little insight about yourself, and also a little bit about Fun 17. So tell us a little bit about growing up in New Orleans.
So for technicality's sake, because I know people are very territorial when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
where you're from in New Orleans. For the record, I am from Shrewsbury, which is nestled right next to Holly Grove. So childhood
Okay.
was mainly in Shrewsbury. Most of my family is from there. But me personally, growing up, because my mom moved around a lot, I got to live in a lot of different places. So Lower Ninth
Mm-hmm.
Ward, Uptown, Mid City, as far as Susan Park and Kenner, I lived in Laplace, or as people say, Laplace. So my childhood was about me.
LaPlace.
People say Laplace, and I will respect the local vernacular. So yes, but just so people know what we're talking about. Yeah, but I lived in many places, but in particular in New Orleans, I've lived in Mid City, the Garden District, and for the longest, the Lower Ninth Ward.
Okay. What high school did you go to?
I went
You know, we
to,
always have to ask that.
I know. And it's funny because I went to Haynes Academy for Advanced Studies. I graduated in
Mm-hmm.
2011, cum laude, and that is actually in Old Metairie. And my mom was one of those people who felt like she wanted the best. So we played the address game. We had the
Mm-hmm.
bill at the relative's house to be in the better district. So I didn't
Mm-hmm.
go to school in Orleans Parish until I graduated from Loyola, where I got my bachelor's
Okay.
degree in political science. Yep.
Nice. Okay then. Now and then you said Haynes. Haynes was in Old Metairie.
Yes, Haynes, when after Hurricane Katrina, there were a bunch of schools that
Mm-hmm.
started to transition to magnet schools. And in Jefferson Parish in
Mm-hmm.
particular, there was Patrick F. Taylor Science and Technology Academy, which I went
Mm-hmm.
to for middle school. And then I went to Haynes
Oh
Academy where
wow.
I graduated. It was the number 2 school in the state behind Ben Franklin, at the time, whatever. But
Yeah.
I went to an amazing high school, yes.
Yeah, man. So yeah, so I think Patrick Taylor got moved over on the West Bank.
Yes, on the West Bank now. And Haynes is
Okay, all
now
right.
at the former Grace King campus. So there's a lot of moving around, a lot of moving parts with education and how it's structured now. So
Okay. So I noticed that when you were younger, you received a nickname, Keion, like neon. So tell me a
yes.
little bit about that.
Um when I was 13, 14, I started an upward bound program at UNO.
Mm-hmm.
And the counselor that would come to my school, her name was Jean B. Ware, and
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Dion Dukes was the head counselor. And me being myself, I am typically shy and reserved, more observant, but everything sits on my face and my body language. And I'm a pretty vibrant person. I'm just protective of my energy. So there was this particular counselor that came
Mm-hmm.
up to me. His name was Jared, and he was like, "What's your name?" And I was like, Keion. He was like, "Oh, Keion, like neon, because you shine bright." And
Mm-hmm.
immediately I relaxed. I opened up. My goofy little laugh came out. And he was like, I could see your personality. I know you over here minding your business. You seem like you're too cool to be bothered, but I just want you to know that I see you. And ever since then, it was a great way for people to not call me Kiana, to remember my name phonetically, but also it was indicative of, what people saw in me, even when I thought I was being to myself and quiet and mysterious. So, yeah.
It's funny, man. We just ran a workshop and we just had a bunch of teenagers, probably 14, 18 years old, for STEM NOLA. And I recognize how important it is to see each student, in that process, especially ones that look like, they may be having a little challenge just fitting in the early stages of it. So I definitely get. So how do you think being seen in that moment has inspired you throughout your life and your career? Because you still use that nickname.
I do. I really do because it's stuck. I'm a visual artist and I am infamous for wearing bright colored clothes, crazy patterns. So it is
Mhm.
part of like my identity as a person and also just as how I present myself to the world. But I've always been a to myself kind of person, but I've just naturally been thrusted into leadership positions,
Mhm.
eldest daughter. I'm the
Mhm.
first generation college graduate, resident
Mhm.
generational curse breaker in the family.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I'm the one when people are like, "Hey, how do I figure this out?" I'm little Miss Google. So even though I have the propensity to be to myself, I know I have a lot of resources,
Mhm.
and I'm very good in leadership roles. So
Mhm.
I find myself breaking out of my mold repeatedly in different environments just to, share myself with other people in a way that is organic for me.
Yeah, man. And I think it's interesting. I think the Generation X and those early younger, I call younger millennials, or probably older X's, in that time frame, because I think our lives have spanned across a lot of things, right? Like the digital, everything from definitely from the 8 track player all the way over to digital music.
Yeah.
So fortunately, we've seen everything. So a lot of times people lean on us for that insight on how do you work this technology or do different things. And I'm still having trouble with it, but I do realize that it's good to be on the end of being able to understand it, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a dial-up kid, so I
Yeah.
was fortunate enough to have a computer in my house and have
Mhm.
the latest game consoles. Like, mama worked hard to make sure we had what we had, and because of it, I was able to experience, the latest form of technologies up until, now.
Mhm. So now, and we've had a chance to talk a little bit. I think you mentioned the fact that you're an artist.
Yes.
Obviously, you're an activist working with Fund 17, trying to make sure that local businesses get their fair shake. We entrepreneur, program director at Fund 17. So, how do these roles intersect in your work, man? Like wearing so many different hats and having to be, and still actually, being that person that helps out the family as well. Like, how does all that intersect when it comes to your work at Fund 17?
I currently and in this phase of my life, I only do things that fit. I stopped
Hmm.
trying to jam squares into circle shaped pieces. And what I
Gotcha.
mean by that, I figure out what I'm good at, what I'm passionate about, and what resources are readily available for me to
Hmm.
have a talent and then turn it into a skill. So, being an artist, I
Okay.
understand the creative process. I understand that you have to give of yourself to produce a product or an experience for the world. Being a mom,
Okay.
I understand what it's like to sacrifice and learn patience and to put yourself, after someone, thinking about like your children's or, whoever you're caretaking, about their well-being before you, and to ensure that they have some sort of security. Being a parent,
Hmm.
one of my biggest things was I would rather be an asset rather than a liability. Meaning like I
Right.
would rather help my child in all of the ways rather than hurt them. Being an entrepreneur with my art business, I understand the intricacies of making sure my LLC is up to date, marketing, branding, wearing all of the hats to ensure that my business stays current, relevant, exciting, and that I also don't get burned out. So all of these things are firsthand experience for me as a person to be empathetic and to have human based approaches to
Hmm.
know what it is that I'm talking about. One of my biggest things is I'm going to research. I'm going to, touch the fire just a little bit just to see how hot it is so I could, get an accurate description. So I'm always about firsthand experiences to put myself in other people's shoes. So all of my roles tie just into my job naturally, planning, executing, helping, problem solving, critical thinking. It's a common denominator in all areas of my life.
It all comes together.
Mhm.
Um, so tell me a little bit about this, man. So we talked about the roles that you have, and then we understand that we're in the city of New Orleans, and there's this grand opportunity, um, with so much resources in the pipeline, and yet I think it's something that we have to acknowledge the fact that we're also, like you said, fighting for economic justice and supporting, local entrepreneurs. Like, so what drives you um, in that space, right? Using Fund 17 as a catalyst to um, to promote economic justice and also for supporting local entrepreneurs.
It directly comes from my lived experience and core memories. I
Mm-hmm.
remember once my mom, she, worked sometimes 2 to 3 jobs, and she wanted us to experience what other people were experiencing. So, like, have nice things, but it was there wasn't too much leeway for making mistakes. Like, I bought you the nice clothes or the nice shoes, you have to take care
Mm-hmm.
of them. I invested in this thing for you, you have to make it last, you have to take care of it because resources are limited. um, and
Mm-hmm.
me being the older daughter, learning social cues, things that don't have to be said to be understood, I was like, oh, this is what it means when mama says she don't have McDonald's money. I understood the nuances of
Right.
that early, and what it meant to stretch a dollar, and how, for some people like my mom, it was a part-time job, but for some people
Mm-hmm.
had a different temperament, they were like, oh, it's a side hustle. I need to sell supper plates. I need to be a kitchen beautician because I need to make money and make ends meet. So for me, I understood very early how resources would tie to your quality of life. And
Mm-hmm.
when you are able to pioneer your own financial standing by taking on your own business, it gives you more independence. It gives you more confidence. It gives you more ability to move through the world, where you don't have to be restricted by certain isms that are tied to financial illiteracy or subpar credit scores, or not learning the soft skills to enhance your career to be able to take in more money, ergo for a better quality of life. So looking
Yeah.
at the people around me, and the hustlers, is how I understood what it meant for survival, and why working with entrepreneurs who are side hustlers, kitchen beauticians, shade mechanics, why it's so essential for them to want to jumpstart generational wealth.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us here in New Orleans, man, that it's nothing for us still to have first generation college students. You have some kids who are just getting into the space of getting to the maybe their family didn't have other people before that didn't have the opportunity, but now they're the ones who are carrying that mantle and getting an opportunity to go to college. And yeah, it's 2024, but that's still a very, very, very real thing.
It
So
is.
that you talked about earlier, I think that you and I have had a chance to talk about was, the lessons that we've learned from those folks before us. And then the folks we call before us down here, it's like we had the old heads and the hot girls, right? From 99
Yes.
in 2000, man. But those are our forerunners, the folks that kind of laid the path. Like, how do you draw inspiration from the folks that came before us down here in New Orleans?
I'm gonna say two things to preface that.
Uh-huh.
First, um, I have been on this journey of learning about my ancestors and family tree to better understand myself, and to, just be on a spiritual journey that's pretty personal to me. But in turn, it meant learning about where I come from, the people that I come from, nature versus nurture, those sorts of things. But
Yeah.
the importance of being raised and influenced by the old heads and the hot girls from the 99 and the 2000s, it really granted me two things: duality and discernment. My ancestors, or the older generations, are from rural Mississippi as far as I could trace back. So we're talking Meadowville, we're talking Hollandale, Hazelhurst, Tupelo, just spread out all over.
Mm-hmm.
But the younger generations, moved to New Orleans. And at that time, being raised by, the inner city hip young adults of the 99s and the 2000s, they were very expressive people. They didn't code switch. The high girls wore their fashions. They wore their beehives and their French horns and bamboo earrings. And, they still took care of
Yeah,
their
man.
families, and they showed up and did what they needed
Yeah.
to. And then, the
Yeah.
antithesis of that were the very laid back, let it roll off your back old heads who listen to Johnny Taylor and Al Green and play their dominoes and just chill. They remembered a slower time, so they weren't so caught up in the latest technologies or fads or trends. So I pull from both of them. Like, I'm a young, hip, stylish, well-rounded person, but I also understand the importance of talking to old people and elders and remembering old music and archaic ways of living and collecting vinyls and missing VCR. So it just made me to remember that time is relevant and to, just be my full self by being influenced by these different demographics of people.
Yeah, man. And at this stage, I know that because I'm part of that 99 2000 population as well. But it's also, I remember when I first moved, I came in 1987 from a small town, North Louisiana. I say Shreveport because it's the closest small town to Shreveport, a little town called outside of Blanchard, Louisiana, called Longwood, Louisiana.
Okay.
And when I got down here, I think one of the first things I noticed was how those cats and all those folks who were older than me, they still looked out for me. And I was from a whole different city.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I was in a place where I wasn't supposed to be, or doing something I wasn't supposed to do, I mean, they didn't have a problem kind of pulling us to the side and kind of giving us some instruction. And I came down here to go to college, but the community still 100% embraced us as its own. It didn't really matter if you was here for college or if you had just moved into the city. I think the city kind of embraces you, it loves on you, and it does everything it can do to make sure that you're all right.
Absolutely. And the old heads, years ago, they served as the neighborhood watch. They were the
Yeah,
familiarity. They were the news before the news caught wind of what happened. So it
yeah.
created a sense of community as well.
So, Kim, yeah. So, what aspirations or goals do you have for the future of Fund 17 and your continued efforts to empower entrepreneurs here, and promote economic justice here in New Orleans?
Well, currently, our executive director, Veronisha Thompson Pullman over at Fund 17 is amazing. And what
Yay!
she is,
We
Veronisha's
love your
pronouns
news.
are she, they. So sometimes you might hear me say she, sometimes you might hear me say they. But she is amazing. As much as she wants us to pour into entrepreneurs and our community and the economic ecosystem, she wants us to pour into ourselves as staff at Fund 17. So professional development is something that is always stressed. Try to, get your certifications, get into this cohort. So currently I am pursuing program management certification through PMI, which is the Program Management Institute. So
Okay.
that is one way to make sure I am learning the latest and most efficient ways of being a program director,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that everything that I plan and execute is effective and I get tangible, recordable results from that. But one of the
Mm-hmm.
main ways is to also get people more aware of all of the different offerings Fund 17 has, and then in
Mm-hmm.
turn grow our cohorts, have larger graduating classes to recruit new and experienced BCMs, business case managers or advisors, as we call them at Fund 17, to be on our
Mm-hmm.
roster to provide advising. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really one of the things we say. It's so Fund 17, the 17 is for the 17 wars. And we like to say that we're hood famous in 4, but we want to
Yes.
be known in all 17. So one of the biggest things is to be known and impactful in all 17 wards of the city, in short.
So, understanding, and whenever I talk about Fund 17, I always think about it in terms of, and these are the things I heard about it before I even got to you guys. I mean, and Veronisha has her own fan club out here, Fund 17U. All you guys, everybody loves the accelerator out here. Now, and I think the thing I heard the most is that, you guys are able to help businesses develop with a concept of their lifestyle, being able to help them, develop their business. But like you said, think about it like a hustle. Like, we understand that there are things that you have going on right now. We want to develop the business and then also bring the business along in such a way that it can become that number one. But while it's doing that, we understand that you also have a life, and I think that that's very true for a lot of the folks down here in New Orleans that, like you said, that they're working at their day one, they're working at their number one job, but they're also trying to expand and build on the business idea and concept, that they have. So tell me a little bit about how the evolution and growth of Fund 17, like over the last decade, like how did y'all get to this space of being that go-to accelerator for people who are trying to build a brand out of their side hustle?
Well, so to give a historical background of Fund 17, Fund 17 was founded in 2012 by a Tulane graduate student who wanted to help gap the capital access disparities for local Black entrepreneurs in the city. And that was the main focus, which is where the fund aspect comes from in the name. Over time, Fund 17 has evolved to provide technical assistance, one-on-one advising, and an incubator. But what we also wanted to ensure was that leadership and the people that were serving the entrepreneurs also represented them, looks like them, and were from the community, because we understood that trust and, being open to someone on sensitive matters such as your personal goals, your finances, sometimes there was a miscommunication. So over the past couple of years, Veronisha became executive director February 14th of 2022. And since then, we made sure to rekindle different connections that were beneficial for the organization and for the entrepreneurs in a culturally relevant way, meaning to recruit business case managers from the neighborhood. We also started to look at different entrepreneurs who were in cohorts that built their skill sets that would be able to give, a more expanded take on what it was like to be an entrepreneur, but also to give advice because they went through some of the processes as business owners in the city. But we also started to make sure that we were evolving with what entrepreneurs needed based on the original demographics. So when Fund 17 first started, it was more traditional industries, cosmetology, food, drinks, things of that capacity. Now we have expanded to serving nonprofits. We are also serving collaboratives, or trying to figure out ways to offer resources to collaboratives. We are implementing 2 different initiatives to ensure that Fund 17 stays representative of the entrepreneurs we serve and the people that offer resources by the Culture Bearer Promise and Pivotpreneur. And then by 2026, we hope that all of these initiatives are fully implemented so that we can bring in different industries of entrepreneurs.
So I like how you said, that as you guys evolved, you realized the importance of organizing resources and also making sure people had good mentors in their business endeavor. Now, you said that the fund itself started though with the hopes of getting accessing more capital for Black entrepreneurs, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now, go ahead.
So how that was done primarily, Fund 17 used to be a Kiva hub. So entrepreneurs would come in, they would sign up for the Kiva process, which was a lot like GoFundMe or different crowdsourcing opportunities, but also taking in grants, preparing them for loans, things of that capacity. So that was the main avenue in which they did that.
Okay. So now, when it comes to accessing funds and getting businesses positioned to do that, what's kind of you guys' approach right now?
Our approach right now, so currently to this day, Fund 17 has given out approximately $85,000 in entrepreneur stipends. And that came really after Hurricane Ida, when we found that, some sort of stimulus was needed for entrepreneurs to get back on their feet after that time. Also in the form of
Mhm.
reimbursements for paying for LLCs, DBEs, and other certifications. But primarily, Fund 17, we are in that we'll teach you how to fish rather than give you the fish
Mhm.
mentality. So with the Financial Wellness Collaborative, entrepreneurs can come in, get their certifications. They can learn about the foundations of personal and business finance, get their taxes done by a certified CPA, and then builds
Mhm.
like a package to go to different financial institutions, where they won't fall prey to predatory loans or grants or things of that capacity. We also have Capital Ready, which is an 8-week program that is run by Veronisha under the Capital Access Initiative, where entrepreneurs learn all of these skills, and they have an advisor where you'll go through all of your finances, learn things such as QuickBooks, um, commingling, how to basically be on your P's and Q's with finances. So you can go to a bank or to any crowdsourcing fund and then, hopefully get the green light. And then lastly, we are offering like reimbursements for like LLCs for entrepreneurs that are ready to go to the formalized aspect of their business. So we're teaching you how to prepare yourself and to write statements to pursue the money, but also have, the credentials to be able to do that, or the soft skills to feel comfortable enough to pursue financial pursuits.
So it's the prep of getting all the paperwork and stuff together, and also like you said, which I thought was really good, was we found this with founders too, that getting prepped on the soft skills, right? Getting them prepared to have those conversations with financial institutions, and then even getting prepared to have those conversations with other people about their business, the elevator pitch, or just
Yes.
being able to present their business to those financial opportunities. What do you think really sets Fund 17 apart when we talk to, let's talk about cultural sensitivity and just, understanding where we are here in New Orleans, understanding the community here in New Orleans. What are some of the things that you think sets Fund 17 apart?
Well, I think the first thing that we can consider is our largest served demographic. Our largest served
Mm-hmm.
demographic consists of Black or African American femmes earning about $28,000 annually, have some sort of collegiate education or completed
Mm-hmm.
some type of college. Their business is in the creative industry, so food, beverage, cosmetology, and they are a full-time employee on you know, someone else's roster, as well as having their business on the side. So when you think about this particular person and what their lifestyle may look like in New Orleans, it could
Mm-hmm.
be, something that we all empathize with. So by being culturally relevant, we understand that Fund 17 is the first stepping stone to becoming an entrepreneur. We take you in at a novice level and are basically very understanding to your life circumstances and the limitations that you may have. And we we, get a feel for this by asking certain questions on applications like, do you have internet? Do you have reliable transportation? Because a
Mm-hmm.
third of New Orleans doesn't have any technology or any Wi-Fi. Some people don't have automobiles because insurance for
Yep.
liability can be as high as $300 depending on your driving record. The average cost of automobile repairs
Mm-hmm.
annually is about $2,800 because of the poor infrastructure. So we ask you have a prepaid phone or an unlimited plan, because we don't want to call you and take all day if it's going to eat up your minute. So we take these sorts of things into
Right.
consideration. We take into consideration the language barriers, the culture and how it's evolving or stagnating. We
Mm-hmm.
take into considerations things like time. If we say, okay, we're going to start at 6, we give you a grace period of 6:05 for cultural sensitivity, because we know you might be running a little bit late. We understand that sometimes phone calls are more
Yeah.
beneficial than emails or texts, because you want to have quick communication. You don't have time. You have to go to work. You're making groceries. You got to pick the kids up. or like,
Right.
which is also why programming is $75, which is
Hmm.
why our community business incubator is priced at a radically affordable, tier from $25 to $75 a month. So we understand that people may not have certain skills. We speak their language. We know how they want to evolve, and we
Hmm.
just go with them from there. Compared to other organizations that are for more seasoned, more veteran entrepreneurs who are formalized, who have a business plan, who understand the elements a little bit better. So we are the initial stepping stone. We are, the first place that you go if you want to turn your side hustle into a formalized business.
I really like what you said about being able to analyze the person's current state, right? Like just come as you are. We understand you have a lot of challenges. We understand that there are things going on. And it sounds like all those things that could be actually playing in the back of the head of an entrepreneur, the language barriers, do I know enough? I don't know anything about, finances and all those things. It looks like you guys, through that assessment of the lifestyle and where that entrepreneur currently is, gives you the ability to, like you said, knock down the barriers or reduce the barriers regardless of what they are.
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of people who come to us, they are very tenacious. They
Hmm.
come hustlers, the paper
Yeah.
chase. They got their block on fire,
Yeah.
and they really, a hurdle to them is just a way to learn how to jump higher. They know
Yeah.
that there are some isms against them, but a lot of people from New, and it kind of bothers me sometimes when people say, "Oh, New Orleanians are so resilient." They say it in a way that is indicative of us being strong or learning to accept the brunt or the grit of life. But some of the most inspiring people are people who have overcome very tough circumstances and let it roll off of their back. So yeah, that's very inspiring.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, man. So the thing that the thing that I'm really interested in now is, so it takes, one of the things that we, like you said, that I think before it was, when we was talking about the OGs, they didn't code switch and different things like that. Like when helping someone develop their business, why is it so important to be to the culture that that we have down here? Because I tell people it's a lot different. I mean, and I really do believe it is. We talk a lot about community being our superpower, um, because I believe that the closeness and how we interact and actually communicate, like text threads are big here, and just being in certain groups are big here. That's how information gets shared. Why is it when you're helping these entrepreneurs bring their businesses along? Why do you think it's so important to kind of lean into the culture that already exists?
I think you need to meet people where they are. You need to figure out the ways that they are already intelligent and absorbent. Like one of the greatest things that I love about being in programming, especially in certain sessions,
Hmm.
such as like lease negotiations,
Hmm.
we teach people about legalese and how sometimes language is so flowery and so compounded that it's just intended to confuse you or to undermine you.
Hmm.
So I love being able to have someone translate something to me like they already know it.
Hmm.
It's like it's common, well, not, common sense isn't common, so let me not say that.
Yeah.
So they are able to be discerning and make an inference based off their environment to be like, oh, this makes sense to me. And then once you give it to them in the legalese and then the layman terms, they're like, I knew what I was talking about. So it's to affirm people like, you're really intelligent. There are just certain keywords or certain, dog whistles to make you feel like you're not prepared or deserving of this. So, I make sure that I'm program director Keion, but I also let people know like I'm a human too. So there's no power struggle. There's no hierarchy here. Is just respect and understanding. So being able to speak someone's language to affirm them and, to help them grow faster or in a way that's understanding to them, because not everyone's brain works the same.
Yeah.
So I want to just understand people, but also let them know that they understand what's in front of them, especially if they, are dedicated to their business or whatever their dream is.
I like that, and just being able to translate the information so they can better understand it, and then also understand that this has nothing to do with where you are. It just has to do with how this particular information is written or how it's delivered.
Yeah, it's about giving them the key to the gate. That's it. Really, what it is. It's it's
That's
really
cool,
what
man. So as you know, we do our incubator, and we're looking for new energy founders. And one of the things I like to say about one of our founders, who was Maisha Mina, I think that I felt like we co-parented in that particular situation, right? So we were working on how do we get this business scale, but yet and still she has a lifestyle. She has a son, I think husband, she's a mom, she's a wife. Also, and with all due respect, she's also an engineer and has this really strong academic background as well, but is still trying to figure out like, how do I get my project right to the next level? So I kind of want to focus in on her. It's one of those one of those success stories. Unless you have another one. If you have another one, I definitely want to just kind of talk about what it was like being able to work with, say, one of our founders inside of the incubator, and understanding that we're taking on the challenge of finding founders to participate in the Louisiana energy expansion that's currently going on.
So when I first met Maisha, she told me that her husband was running for public office.
Yeah.
Congratulations to him because he won. We
Hey,
were able to congratulate Sean at our gala in 2023.
Yeah.
She was also saying that she was formerly an engineer and that she was pursuing a career in development in the honor of her grandmothers, Ethel and May. And because she was in Be the Boss, that was one of those programs where we were partnered with Trepwise for that particular year. So Trepwise is a local consulting firm where they work with entrepreneurs to build up their business plan, mindset, marketing, things of that capacity. So she was able to work on mindset to understand the trajectory of her business and how to take her background in engineering, as well as, we talked about the ancestors and venerating the ancestors and how to make it more intersectional for that. So by the end of it, she was able to revise her business model canvas to understand exactly how she was going to be able to, juggle being a mom, wife, a campaign partner, as well as develop her business. So this was one of those cases where you have a very successful multi-hat individual who really had all the skill sets, everything she needed. She just wanted to lay it out on the table to see her vision clearly. And because she was partnered with an advisor at Trepwise, she was able to get those pieces together.
And I think regardless of like you said, I like the fact that Fund 17 works with a scale, right? Like it's that traditional business of just a cosmopolitan who's really just wants to open up a shop, which is a great business. I know they make a ton of money. All the way up to helping the guys who are trying to actually work with us, the ones who are doing energy founding, technology-based companies. That that space really and truly is not, it's not that big a deal when you understand the most important part. The most important information to both of those groups of people is, what does the roadmap look like for me to get to that next level? And
Yes.
I think what you're explaining is that at Fund 17, you guys work on laying that roadmap out regardless of where they're coming from. You meet them where they are, and really work to get them in a space where they can be more comfortable with the information, more comfortable with the business, um, and just and really just being support for what they need.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times people will be surprised to find that entrepreneurs teach us a lot too.
Hmm.
When, like I said, when we first started, we focused on the more traditional industries. So to have different entrepreneurs like Maisha Mina to come in and work with us with Ethel and May, and we also had another cohort member by the name of Shay Claiborne. She is the
Hmm.
owner and founder of Mommy Fluent, which
Nice.
takes in, biosciences, bioengineering and sciences, as well
Yeah.
as like developmental, um, like milestones and toys for children. So
Hmm.
our business focused on giving your children a more holistic and more like Montessori like upbringing and
Hmm.
developmental accessories, and then also producing an app that could be paired with that. So as we started to increase our cohorts and to have more people come into our network, we're starting to, get feelers for people who are in these industries and, be a part of different roundtables and discussions that include more entrepreneurs that are in agricultural realms. Like we work with Mastodon in our financial wellness collaborative.
Hmm.
Mastodon is a partner pair that does landscaping, but with green infrastructure and different technological advances to ensure
Hmm.
that they're taking into consideration the environment, the health of the people that will be a part of it or involved in the area,
Hmm.
making sure that they have sustainable models or sustainable techniques such
Hmm.
as using native plants or certain kinds of soil or solar panels. So
Hmm.
slowly but surely these different types of businesses are trickling in to our different cohorts.
I think probably going to be super. I'm going to make our cohort 4 always also available to your cohort, man. Just like share it out. I think just listening to that last project about Mastodon, um, there, that's a green project.
Yes.
That's a green project.
We also have another business by the name of Whimscapes, which is
Hmm.
another two business partner pair, and they are a small and up and coming business along the same lines as well. So, yeah, Whimscapes is also another one of our entrepreneurs.
So how do you go about identifying and selecting your entrepreneurs?
Well, with every application process, we give out a statement of the ideal entrepreneur, what to expect, and then the different requirements or milestones you're supposed to have. Like, for instance, if you want to be a part of the benchmarks cohort, that's like church, all are welcome for the most part. Just be serious about what you want to do and actually have the mindset to be committed to the 6 to 12 weeks, depending on the time frame. But for like
Mhm.
benchmarks, if you just want to formalize, you want to learn the basics, we say you have to make under 150K in revenue. We want you to be a local entrepreneur. And when we say local, we are saying that we are first prioritizing born and bred New Orleanians
Mhm.
that have been here pre-Katrina. If you really want to pull the New Orleans call, you could be like me, say I was born at Charity, and I've been here, gonna be here.
Yeah, been
So
here.
so the more you can emphasize local, those are
Yeah.
the entrepreneurs that we like to prioritize. But if you've been here, you have an impactful business in Orleans Parish, make under 150K in revenue, you have the $75, you have the time commitment and time management. For the most part, you're welcome into those programs. And then as the pipeline increases with like capital ready, we want you to have that business bank account. We want you to have a business plan, even if it's a preliminary rough draft. We want you to have thought about these kinds of things because that's the particular stage you're at. And then the more you want to increase your business, we ask that you do certain things like have a tax return, or have these certain certifications, or be able to turn in this proof of formalization. So we never really ask for too much. We always post these things on our newsletter, Instagram, a lot of word of mouth, because we do things in traditional New Orleanian ways. And then we also partner with different organizations to see if they might have some individuals. Like recently, I reached out to the Algiers Economic Development Fund to see if they had entrepreneurs who might want to participate. And we got 2 people in our latest cohort. So we are starting to share each other. I always get emails from people over at Propeller that's like, hey, I got someone who might be interested in a program. I told them about you. So, people are always referred to us as well. We just make sure that you're going to take it seriously, because even though programs are priced at $75, they're really like a $3,000 value. So.
Okay, I think that's me. I think I had like a little hiccup on my internet, so it slowed you down a bit.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about Parish Hall, man.
Okay, so Fund 17 is housed at Parish Hall, which is 2533 Columbus Street. We are right around the corner from Bayou Road, and Parish Hall houses a number of organizations right now. So within that space, it is Fund 17, Kids Smart, Jane Place, New Corp, the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra. If y'all are watching this and y'all in Parish Hall, I'm so sorry, I forgot y'all. But there are a number of organizations, as well as having a co-working space. But Fund 17 is its own entity, just housed in Parish Hall. So within that space, we have our offices and we have our community business incubator, which is the equivalent of a computer lab and a bookable conference room.
So now, in there, you said shared office space, so it can also be a spot where they receive mail. Okay, great. It could be a spot where
to give you the full detail on the CBI, as we call it for short, because people just love acronyms. But Community Business Incubator, we offer tiers between $25 and $75, and with those different criteria, you have an allotted amount of time that you can be inside of the space utilizing the technology library, which consists of desktops, laptops, Apple iPads, digital cameras, projectors, screens. There are copies, fax, scan capacities. We provide mailing materials, so stamps, more archaic snail mail measures. We also do provide business mailboxes for individuals who don't want to register your business to your personal home or to some destination that you might move away from or that may not be as secure. So if you sign up for the higher tier, then you can get a business mailbox as well. So depending on where you land, you get a certain number of copies, hours in the space, or just different amenities that are allotted. But everyone is able to come in at any time if you're a part of the cohort. So if you are a part of our cohort, you get to use the space for free. We have coffee, tea, snacks, vibes. There are a lot of plans for grounding opportunities. So all of that is housed in Parish Hall.
So we have that traditional approach of making sure that, quote unquote, the brick and mortar give you a space. You can come in, you can have, like you said, office space to meet. You can take the mails and all those different things. But one of the things I've also known is that you guys are also on the innovative side too, like doing more things with cybersecurity, technical assistance. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys are moving kind of in that new technological space?
Absolutely. Veronisha and I a few months ago came up with the initiative, the initiatives of the Culture Bear Promise and Pivotpreneur. One of the main things that we saw, especially after coronavirus and the outbreak that, initiated the quarantine, was that a lot of businesses were closing their physical spaces and were being forced to move into more digital realms. So online storefronts, Zooms, and because those form of like business practices weren't as normalized, a lot of people struggled, a lot of businesses closed, people weren't able to still be relevant or keep up. So we found that a lot of businesses also fell prey to a lot of cybersecurity attacks, such as phishing or that fake, we can deliver your UPS package, click this
Yeah.
link, and then now they got your social security number, your mama maiden name, and your firstborn child. So we found that
Mm-hmm.
because the entrepreneurs in New Orleans were expressing the same thing, we realized that this was the target demographic that we're being preyed on. So we were teaching them in a way like, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And that's where we started to teach people about the basics of cybersecurity, how to save your passwords. A while ago, we did a Google training with K. Allen Consultant. We had another IT professional come in and basically teach people during Financial Wellness Collaborative how to protect your finances and sensitive financial information. We started to bring in more branding and marketing business case managers for individuals who wanted to learn about websites, or whether it was Squarespace or Wix or the different intricacies, or even social media. We had some people who did not know how to log into their email. They were using the same email to sign up for like different subscriptions and stuff for 15 years, but they didn't know the password. They didn't know how to reset it. So it was going back to those different building blocks of teaching people how to use technology so they could, still have a chance to be competitive in whatever industry they were pursuing.
How do you guys measure impact and success of your programs?
Well, being a 501c3, one of the biggest things that we stress is collecting data.
Okay.
So we always collect pre-program surveys, post-program surveys, and then post-course surveys. So we get feedback immediately on if the information was relevant, if it was useful, if we should expand it. And then we also gauge by how many milestones are hit. So how many budgets are revised, how many business accounts are opened, how many people got business insurance or a new permit or a new license. So those different tangible measures, but also how many people completed their goal on what they wanted to do from the start of the program. So how many people got keys, how many people graduated from programs, how many connections or partnerships have you made? Because a lot of the times what happens is our entrepreneurs who graduate, they work with some of our other partners, and then they get different opportunities that come for them. So as long as their business is relevant and they are moving forward with whatever desire they started with us with, and we stay in touch, we learned that interpersonal skills was a measure of success. Like, do you still talk to the entrepreneurs that you work with 1 year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago? So it's maintaining that community. That's a big way of stress. But, we have to turn in grant reports. So we make sure that we hit objectives, but we also make sure that word on the street is Fund 17 is walking in like they're talking in, because this is a small place and they're going to let you know when you
Yeah.
did well, and they're going to let you
Yeah.
know what you need to fix and how you should have fixed it yesterday. And we take all of that
Yeah.
into consideration. So being accountable is a great measure of success as well. Being able to get constructive criticism, being accountable, and then, working on that.
Yeah, man. In a small community like this, it's funny because, well, when we first started, I think I spent a year just doing the work, understand that people were just watching. like, Again, it's a small community. Nobody's gonna, you may not necessarily get any insight. You may not get any praise. They're just gonna watch to see if you're doing exactly what you said that you're doing. Like you said, well, are you walking it like you're talking?
Absolutely.
So when it comes to, do y'all have any partnerships or collaborations with other organizations in the community that's enabling you to do this good work?
Absolutely. So currently, our current running partnerships consist of Propeller and Thrive by way of the Financial Wellness Collaborative, which is sponsored by Regions and JP Morgan Chase. We also have a partnership with Friends of Cody's NOLA. Sinedra Taylor is the executive director and owner of Cody's Crazy Waffle Bar and Friends of Cody's. She has an incubator kitchen and commissary kitchen for food entrepreneurs. Sinedra is one of our success stories. She started as an entrepreneur, evolved into a business case manager, and then she became a sub-grantee and partner, teaching entrepreneurs what she learned from us, and then throughout her own journey, as well as teaching us things. And then all of our business case managers are independent contractors that have their own business. So currently, right now, we are working with Danica of Divine Realty Consultants. We are working with LaTasha Glass of Phoenix Prodigy. We are also working with Jordan Dagry of By Design. We have Minister Toya, who does branding and marketing as well as nuptials. And then we also have Marissa Lowe, who is the owner and CEO of the Purple Kitty New York, who does finance, mindset, and holistic wellness. So all of these partnerships we have made through connections from our network, or just being like-minded and wanting to pursue something together to make it stronger, rather than trying to have parallel paths and competing with one another. So, and then in the past, other partnerships have consisted of Truckwise, flights, different Louisiana offices like the Department of Environment and Insurance, like the Brownsville Project. Who else? NOLA BA. We've worked with the shops. We've worked with many people, the city of New Orleans, but the full list is also displayed on our website at fun17.org if you want to know who we've been in bed with before.
I think that's cool, man. I think, I always want people to understand that you don't have, it's not, one incubator might not be the fix, or one accelerator may not be the fix, right? Like you can go through a Fun 17 experience and then come through ours if you're, if you have a new energy project, or you may go through a Fun 17 and you may go through a Propeller as well. I mean, sometimes I think that you're going to, there may be multiple organizations you may go through, because the goal for all of our organizations is to make sure that we get the founder, in the space that they need to be in. Now, Absolutely. Really, it's going to have two. Go ahead.
I was going to say, personally, I know of different paths that entrepreneurs took. There are some entrepreneurs who repeat our programs just to get more emphasis out of it for themselves. Yes. And then we've had entrepreneurs who went through us and then Propeller and then to Goldman Sachs. And then we've had entrepreneurs that went from us to Propeller to Idea Village. So, we are connected to many people who are working their way up the entrepreneurial ladder. So we have a lot of succession stories for entrepreneurs that are growing their business and, making their way through other organizations in the city, starting with us. So I feel good about that. We definitely feel good about that.
So I want to do two things. There's the last two things. The first one is, tell us about some things that you have, projects, different things that you have coming up. I saw some teasers in our pre-show. I just want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about some things that you guys have going on coming up at Fun 17.
Absolutely. Today is September 24th. So that means that tomorrow, September 25th, that Be the Boss applications close at 11:59 p.m. So if you or someone is an entrepreneur and you would like to make yourself a full-time employee on your own roster, or to obtain a full-time or part-time or contract employee, learn some leadership soft skills, learn HR laws, QuickBooks, Be the Boss applications close tomorrow. This Friday, we also have a financial wellness collaborative workshop with LLCs and EINs. So that is for entrepreneurs that want to officially formalize and get their federal EIN or tax number. And then in the top of in mid-October, we're going to have our fall mixer, and then continuously through December 19th, we will have our ongoing Property Ready and Be the Boss programming. Then we'll be tabling at Home Fest, which is October 20th. We are part of the Bayou Road Business Association. So those are some of the more immediate things that are coming up. You can also subscribe to our newsletter on our website if you want to know things that are coming down the line.
Let's get that shameless plug in. It's at www.fun17.org.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you have any advice or any insight that you'd like to offer any aspiring entrepreneurs in New Orleans? I think the whole show has kind of been about that, like the fact that there are no barriers. But I just want to hear, any last thoughts on anything that you'd like to share with our local entrepreneurs and the number one reason why they should come to Fun 17 or just to live their dream.
I think people should come to Fun 17 just to find like-minded, good people. It is just a 2-person team at Fun 17, myself and Veronisha. So you'll definitely get a personalized one-on-one interaction, and you'll understand just how involved we are in the organization. So, you'll get to know us very quickly. There aren't too many barriers to getting to know the person behind the work. So getting to know us just always helps. What else do I want people to know about Fun 17? I think that a lot of entrepreneurs want to pursue the more traditional industries like hair, nails, food, drinks. Though I would love to challenge people, especially younger people who are thinking about maybe not going to college, maybe going to trade school, maybe doing something different, to look at the upcoming industries in New Orleans. Like a lot of people traditionally, a lot of young Black men, they're going to get that TWIC card. They're going to work offshore. They're probably going to work in a plant in St. Rose and St. Bernard or Violet or wherever the case is. However, if they decided to research the wind industry or the solar panel and the solar panel industry, or the water industry and how they're using water powered engines to power things, you can get that training and make the same amount of money in a short amount of time, or have more influential roles to bettering the infrastructure for your city. So you can open the seafood spot, but also consider opening, maybe an energy firm to combat some of the issues that we all face. We know hurricanes are coming. Yeah. We know it's going to be hot. We know that food prices are going to go up. So invest in things like agriculture practices, or something that will be lucrative and beneficial that can also keep the culture intact, rather than just going in a traditional way that most people would pursue their education and their livelihood. I think entrepreneurs do well to trust that their skills are transferable. So yeah, that's the main thing I want entrepreneurs coming to us, or that want to potentially work with us, to know.
And I want to kind of piggyback on that too. I mean, I definitely consider, OHUB partner and a collaborator with Fund 17. And one of the things that I want everyone to know is that right now in this moment, there is so much opportunity in the new energy space. And not just if you're the inventor of something, you may be the transportation specialist. You may be the person that's transporting parts and goods in between. But there's opportunities for all those businesses that not only are new energy businesses, but the businesses that actually support new energy businesses. So as our folks who love to do the side hustles, like one thing I will say about this community is that it definitely has a toughness and a resilience about it, just because I believe that it's just always has had to be that way. But we take those types of traits and we can turn them into some really special, amazing entrepreneurs just by giving them support that they need in the pathway that they need to the resources and the customers.
Absolutely. When you first sent me the title of the podcast, I wasn't thinking about energy as far as, non-renewable energies. I was thinking about equity and energy as far as like people power, as far as like, how everyone doesn't have the same 24 hours because some of us have to work harder because we don't have the means to work smarter. So I was like, equity and energy is like, what would it look like for entrepreneurs in our community to be able to grow their business if everyone was just given an equitable amount of resources? Not equal. I don't mean equal. I mean equitable.
Yeah.
So what would that look like? How much energy would they have? Like, how would their health be benefited? How would, the Black business owners in this city who are in a city that's 60% Black, 4% Black owned businesses, but only receive 2% of like sale receipts. How would that change? How would people show up? What would the temperament be like? How would people progress better? So when you initially sent that to me, I was like, equity and energy would just mean like a happier, more energized people. People will be happier. So especially because, we're new to the energy sector with our entrepreneurs. I put it in a more humanized way that is, second nature to us in a way in which we serve people already.
Yeah. Yeah. And just FYI, let people know, we had this conversation with another group of people, man, like a lot of this has just started. We're a couple of years into it, so no one is left out. Shout out to Fund 17 for all the work that they're doing within the 17 wards. We love you guys for that. Berenice, I know you're watching. Want to say hi to you, man. We super duper appreciate you. We can't wait to get to the Not So Gala. And Keion, we appreciate, man, everything that you have done, everything that you share with us. We really thank you for coming on the show, and we look forward to seeing you again. We're gonna get by Parish Hall to kind of learn more about what you guys do over there as well.
Absolutely. Please come on by. We still, I'm very grateful for our flex remote schedule. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you can catch us at Parish Hall during regular business hours. We will be there, so stop by anytime.
Cool, man. Well, you guys take care, and we will see you in October with another episode of Equity and Energy. Bye-bye.
Right.